In early 2025, the Texas Senate took a significant step toward property tax relief with the introduction and unanimous passage of Senate Bill 4. This legislation proposes raising the school district residents' homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000, a move designed to provide measurable financial relief for Texas homeowners. But what does this bill mean for residents, schools, and the state? And how did it garner such strong bipartisan support? To understand the impact of Senate Bill 4, it helps to know what the homestead exemption is. In Texas, the homestead exemption reduces the taxable value of a homeowner's primary residence for property tax purposes. When the exemption increases, the portion of your home's value subject to school district taxes decreases, which in turn lowers the amount you pay each year. SB 4 builds on recent history. In 2023, Texas voters approved an increase in the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000. This change marked a major victory for property owners, easing the burden of school district property taxes at a time when housing costs and valuations had been rising across the state. Now, just 2 years later, Texas legislators are seeking to raise the exemption even further, up to $140,000. Pending approval by voters in the upcoming November 4, 2025 election. So, what does an increase from $100,000 to $140,000 mean in practical terms? For homeowners, it could result in a dramatic reduction in school property taxes, estimated at about 48 to 50% in many cases. For seniors, the impact may be even more profound. When combined with targeted tax rate compression, many senior homeowners could see their school property tax bills eliminated entirely. This potential for substantial savings has garnered widespread bipartisan support, with the Senate voting 30-0 in favor of the bill. Let's take a closer look at how this plays out in real numbers. Consider the Katy Independent School District. If SB 4 is enacted, the total taxable property value in the district would drop by roughly $5.4 billion. That could mean a $22 million reduction in the district's debt service fund, a substantial loss that raises important questions about school funding. This concern isn't unique to Katy. School districts statewide would see similar effects, with less revenue generated from local property taxes. To address this challenge, SB 4 includes provisions to protect schools. The Texas legislature has allocated $3 billion in the state budget to offset potential revenue losses for school districts. This compensation mechanism ensures that, even as homeowners enjoy reduced property taxes, schools receive the funding they need to maintain educational programs, pay teachers, and support students. By balancing tax relief with financial support for schools, lawmakers aim to safeguard both homeowners and public education. The process doesn't end with legislative approval. For the exemption increase to become law, Texas voters must weigh in during the general election on November 4, 2025. If a majority of voters endorse the measure, Texas will move forward with one of the most significant property tax cuts in the state's history. This reflects a larger trend of voter involvement in property tax policy, empowering residents to shape decisions that directly affect their household budgets. Supporters of SB 4 say the bill is a win-win. It helps homeowners manage rising costs, strengthens the state's commitment to tax relief, and ensures schools remain funded through state support. Critics, however, caution that relying on state compensation could create new challenges if future budgets face constraints or if property values continue to fluctuate. For now, the inclusion of substantial state funding is intended to mitigate these risks. As November approaches, the conversation around Senate Bill 4 is likely to intensify. Texans will hear from lawmakers, educators, advocacy groups, and their neighbors as they weigh the potential benefits and risks of raising the homestead exemption. Ultimately, the decision rests with the voters, who will determine whether this bold move to cut property taxes and fortify school funding becomes reality. Senate Bill 4 represents a pivotal moment in Texas policy, balancing the promise of immediate tax relief with the long-term needs of its public schools. As Texans prepare to cast their ballots, the outcome will shape the financial landscape for homeowners and educators alike. setting a precedent for future property tax reforms across the state.